Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 2 of my Learn to Fly series in the new Flight Simulator 2020. In episode 1, we started the flight training lessons. We did lessons 1 and 2, which were basically just about basic controls, about the attitude of the plane, descending, descending, turning, whatnot. All simple, straightforward stuff. In this episode, we are again going to go to the flight training section and we are going to do lessons 3 and 4. So takeoffs and landings, basically. Takeoffs from my previous times with it, I don't think there's going to be too much there that I'm not aware of. Landings, I mean, I can land the planes. There are some things I do forget, however, from the years ago that I did try FSX. In particular, these lights. I forget exactly how they work. I know they are for guiding you down with the slope of your approach. I believe that's what it is anyways. I just forget if white's good, red's good. I'm not sure. So, that's why we're doing this. So today, again, we're going to do lesson 3 for takeoffs and level flight, and then follow that up with lesson 4 on landing. So I'm going to get this started, and once the loading's complete, we will be back. Alright, we're here ready to go with the takeoff lesson in the Cessna 152. Looks as though this is taking place in Sedona. Never been there, don't know anything about it, but I'm guessing it's just a generic runway. So let's get this started.
There's an old saying I like. A mile of road will take you a mile. A mile of runway will take you anywhere. Taking off isn't hard, but there are a few key points to remember. First, we always take off into the wind, which won't be an issue on a calm day like today. Second, before we enter a runway, we always make sure it's clear.
So this one thing in the first lesson that I did learn about this was holding S.
Everything looks good.
Gives
no
you
cross-traffic. Go
basically
ahead and taxi into
focuses
position.
the camera on a point of interest.
The rudder pedal should
Something I
make
did
steering
not
the plane
know
pretty easy.
was a thing, so that's good to know. Now we're gonna release the parking brakes here and get moving a little bit. I'm assuming we're following this yellow line. Well, not quite centered, but
All right, let's do this.
seems to be
Apply
good
full
enough.
power and I'll walk you through the takeoff as we go. Use your rudders to stay on the center line and keep pushing power until you reach 55 knots. Good. Now gently pull back on the yoke. Line up the top of your instrument panel so it's a couple inches above the horizon. That'll pitch us up and set a good climb attitude. And we're airborne. Focus on flying straight. Use your rudders to keep the runway heading of 210 degrees. Maintain 75 knots, and we'll reach our target altitude of 5,500 feet in no time.
Gotta pitch up a little bit here. I gotta pitch down a little bit. There we go.
5,500 feet, a nice safe altitude for part 2 of our lesson. Straight and level flight. First step here is adjusting our attitude. We're in a cruise attitude, pushing max power. To stay level at our target altitude, let's start by easing the throttle back to 1,800 RPMs. Probably noticed, to maintain altitude, you need to pitch the nose up. You could just keep pulling on the yoke to hold steady, but that's not really a precise means of control. Probably better to adjust your trim wheel until you don't need to push or pull on the yoke. Drag the trim down when you need to set the nose up. Drag it up to set the nose down. Try adding trim to keep us at 5,500 feet without increasing throttle. If you feel our pitch slipping and need to get back to the proper attitude, don't worry. Just pull on the yoke, then dial in the right trim. The way I was taught, when you adjust the trim, you make rough changes at first to remove pressure on the yoke, then small adjustments to find the perfect setting to keep your desired attitude. That's the key to straight and level flight. It saves you from constantly pushing.
Alright, well, I didn't actually adjust the trim there. I just
and that gives you more time to enjoy the ride.
used the stick to get
the trim, go for it.
to the right
to pass the controls, I'll be here.
level flight, and it just accepted that as being good enough, so guess that's good. I know how the trim works, so we will continue on from there and go on to the landing lesson. So I will get that loading up and we'll be right back. Alright, we're here ready to go with lesson number 4, which is landings. But to quickly go back to that last one, at the end there we were cruising at 1,800 RPM. If that's the regular cruise RPM that you're supposed to be in this plane, it did not really explain that, so please, if you know, please leave it in the comments. Because it really didn't touch on what is the proper I'm assuming it's 1,800 because why else would they have picked that particular number, though that is below the green part of the tachometer, so I'm not exactly sure. So if you know, please leave a note in the comments. I'll be sure to be checking that out. But anyways, let's get started here on lesson number 4 on landings.
Instructor used to say the best part of flying is landing in one piece. The man was a terminal pessimist, but he wasn't wrong. Today, you're in charge of bringing us in for a safe landing.
Alright, turns out I'm in full control right off the bat here. That's the first lesson I've, where the AI hasn't been in control, at least at the start.
But you'll also need to push forward and trim to change your attitude and maintain the same speed.
Okay, I think I missed something here. Or maybe not. Felt like we're way too high there. Though I am not able to maintain the 65 knots it's wanting me to maintain, not without
Keep your aim
getting the
point on the
plane
runway
down.
threshold. When you're 10 feet above the runway,
Well,
it's time to
apparently
flare.
it accepted 100
Once we
knots.
pass the threshold, shift your aim point to the end of the runway. Then, pull back slightly on the yoke to aim the nose just above it. Okay, we're past the threshold. Start the flare. Keep pulling back slowly. Let the plane settle onto the runway. Don't push it down, but don't let it
Oh,
start
that
climbing.
didn't work out. Ooh. Alright, we're gonna try that one again. That did not go well at all. But I feel like you're supposed to cut the power basically right at the start there, which I didn't realize. So we'll try that this time around.
My first instructor used to say the best part of flying is landing in one piece. The man was a terminal pessimist, but he wasn't wrong. Today, you're in charge of bringing us in for a safe landing. We've got clearance for a straight-in approach, so we don't have to complete the standard traffic pattern. And I've already set us up in landing configuration, at 65 knots with 10 degrees of flaps and idle power. We're on the glide slope now. Maintain speed around 65 knots. Change your pitch if you need to, and keep your aim point on the runway number. When you're targeting the runway number, you want to keep it steady in your sights. If it looks like the number's moving up in your windscreen, you're coming in low. You'll need to add a bit more throttle to get back on the slope. If it looks like the number's moving down in your windscreen, well, then you're too high. You'll need to add flaps to increase your rate of descent, but you'll also need to push forward and trim to change your attitude and maintain the same speed.
So again, I'm going over 65 knots. Seems like it's hard to maintain that while also getting the plane to descend. So I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong here.
When you're 10 feet above the runway, it's time to flare. Once we pass the threshold,
But this one
shift
is
your aim point to the
seemingly
end of the
going a bit
runway.
better than
Then, pull back
the last
slightly on the
attempt.
yoke to aim the nose just above it.
But again, I seem high and coming down rather quick.
Okay, we're past the threshold. Start the flare. Keep pulling back slowly. Let the plane settle onto the runway. Don't push it down, but don't let it start climbing.
Oh, oh.
Nice. Now apply the brakes to slow us down and bring the plane to a stop.
Alright, well, didn't crash it this time, but it wasn't the prettiest landing either, so let's
Great
give
job.
that one
As
more
they
go.
say, any landing you can walk away from is a
I
good landing.
feel like I should be
But if
coming
you can use
in
the plane the
lower,
next day,
but
it's outstanding.
I'm
Landings
trying to
can be
maintain
hard,
that
even
65
for
knots,
seasoned
which
pilots.
is
Trust
making
me,
it
don't
difficult.
hesitate to practice. After all,
But at the
that's
same
what we're
time,
here
I
for,
don't
right?
really know how high you're supposed to be when you're approaching like that. So let's restart it one more time. Again, any comments you guys can leave, I will be reading them and taking notes, because I'm not sure what I'm missing here. So I got throttle all the way back.
My first instructor used to say the best part of flying is landing in one piece. The a
I'm not
terminal
sure what
test of
she
this,
means
but it
by
isn't long.
keeping my aim on the numbers.
Today, you're in
Like,
charge of bringing us in for a safe landing.
does that mean
We've
it
got
should be
plans for a
right
straight-in approach, so we don't
at
have to
the
complete
top
the
of the
standard traffic
dashboard
pattern.
or what? I'm not sure what that
And
means.
I've already set
Should it
us
be
up
in
with
the
landing
middle of
configuration.
the
At
windshield?
65 knots with 10 degrees
I
of
don't know
flaps and
where
idle power.
exactly you're aiming for
We're on
those
the glide
numbers.
slope now. Maintain speed around 65 knots. Change your pitch if you need to, and keep your aim point on the runway number. When you're targeting the runway number, you want to keep it steady in your sights.
Like aim point, as she puts it.
If it
I
looks
do
like
not
the
know what
number's
aim
moving up in
point
your
means
windscreen,
other
you're
than,
coming in low. You'll need
like,
to
I
add a
guess you
bit more
just should be
throttle to get
flying
back on
towards
the
those
slope.
numbers, I suppose.
If it looks like the number's moving down in your windscreen, well, then you're too high. You'll need to add flaps to increase your rate of descent, but you'll also need to push forward and trim to change your attitude and maintain the same speed.
So again, there's the 4 white lights. Forget exactly how to read those. Maybe I thought that was something this lesson would touch on, but doesn't seem to, so might be something I got to research on my own. I know they
Keep your aim
change
point on the runway
to
threshold.
red, I
When you're
think,
10
when
feet
you're...
above the runway,
Whoops.
it's time
Didn't
to
mean to
flare.
do that, but turn the...
Once we pass the
I don't know if
threshold,
white or red
shift
is
your
good.
aim point to
So
the end of
please,
the runway.
again, comments,
Then,
let me know all
pull
this
back
stuff.
slightly on the yoke to aim the nose just above it.
Okay, so this one seemed to be much
Okay,
better.
we're past the threshold. Start the flare. Keep pulling back slowly. Let the plane settle onto the runway. Don't push it down, but don't let it start climbing. Nice.
Okay,
Now apply the brakes to
that was a
slow
little
us down
better.
and
The
bring plane to a
flare,
stop.
the flare part, I think I'm definitely pulling too far back. I guess it's more like level it off kind
Great
of
job.
thing.
As they say, any landing you can walk away
But
from is a good landing. But if you can use the
that
plane the
one,
next
not
day,
perfect,
it's outstanding.
but
Landings can be hard,
hey,
even for
much
seasoned
better than
pilots.
those first two,
Trust me,
so
don't
we'll take
hesitate to
that.
practice.
And
After all,
that's
what
where
we're
we'll
here
leave
for, right?
off today, having completed lessons 3 and 4. And next time we'll come back, we'll do lesson 5, maybe 6. Maybe we'll keep it up with 2 lessons per episode. Next one being the traffic pattern, which I do know is the proper way when you're getting prepared for landing. I don't really understand it. Hopefully it gives us some more details in this lesson 5 when it comes next episode. But till then, I hope everyone does well, and I'll see you then. Have a good one.